I walked into Franco's Italian restaurant with a black eye the size of a silver dollar, and the whole damn room went quiet. 61 years old, and I'd never felt more exposed. The bruise bloomed purple and yellow across my left cheekbone. My wife Linda had offered to cancel the dinner. I'd refused. This was my birthday party, arranged weeks ago by my brother Robert, owner of Rowe Freight Solutions, employer of half the people in this room, including my son. The private room erupted in uncomfortable applause as I entered. Balloons. A banner that read, "Happy 61st Daniel." My brother stood at the head of the table, his military bearings still evident despite 20 years in civilian logistics. Linda squeezed my hand once, then released it. "There he is," Robert said, raising his glass. "The man who taught me everything I know about pressure, deadlines, and keeping your mouth shut when it counts." Laughter, genuine this time. Then my son Jared's voice cut through the warmth like a box cutter through packing tape. "Yeah, except the keeping your mouth shut part, right, Dad?" More laughter, but different now. Nervous. Jared stood near the bar, his wife Taylor beside him. He was 33 and looked 40, soft around the middle, expensive suit that didn't fit right. "That's my wife who gave him that shiner," Jared announced, gesturing toward me with his glass. "Just showed Dad what happens when an old loudmouth crosses the line. As the story unfolds, take a moment to like, hit the hype button, subscribe, and—" The room froze. I saw Robert's jaw tighten, saw the way his knuckles whitened around his glass, but I didn't move. I'd spent 40 years in logistics, learning that the best response to chaos is stillness. Taylor stepped forward. Boundaries, right? Even families need them. The silence stretched. I could feel 50 pairs of eyes on my face, waiting for me to explode or crumble. I'd made a joke about her constant phone use at a family barbecue 3 days ago. She'd thrown her drink in my face first, then followed with her fist. Jared had laughed. "Jared?" Robert's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Can I see you outside for a moment?" "Rob, come on, it's just now." When Robert Rowe said now, you moved. Jared followed him out, confusion turning to fear. The room tried to restart itself. 5 minutes later, the door opened. Robert walked in first. Jared followed, pale now. My brother raised his glass. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight to celebrate my brother Daniel. He's been the backbone of this company longer than some of you have been alive." He paused. "Which is why I can't continue to employ someone who thinks assaulting him is funny. You've been a mediocre worker for months, Jared. I kept you on because you're family. But if this is how you behave, you're finished. Monday morning, your access card won't work." Taylor's phone clattered to the floor. Jared stood frozen. I raised my glass slowly. Finally, a gift I actually like. The laughter that followed was sharp, cathartic. Jared grabbed Taylor's arm and hauled her toward the exit. Robert sat down beside me. "I should have done that 6 months ago." "You did it when it mattered," I said. But I knew it wasn't over. Jared would come back, try something, make some play to prove he wasn't finished. I almost hoped he would. Linda's hand found mine under the table. She squeezed twice. Code, game on. I smiled and cut into my steak, and for the first time in 3 days, the black eye didn't hurt at all. The call came from Robert at 6:47 a.m. on Tuesday, 4 days after he'd fired Jared at my birthday dinner. "Daniel, you might want to sit down for this." "I'm already sitting." "Your son tried to reroute 3 shipping contracts last night using your old authorization codes." I set down my coffee mug carefully. "My codes were deactivated when I retired." "Should have been." "He attempted to redirect warehouse control for the Dayton and Columbus routes. Used your digital signature from 2019. That signature requires 2-factor authentication. Someone requested a SIM swap yesterday. The verification texts went to a new number." "Crap," I muttered quietly. He didn't just try to move contracts. He tried to reassign them to himself under a consultation fee structure that would have paid him $40,000. Used your name as authorization. That's fraud. Exactly. I can report this to the police or let it slide. Give him a chance to fix it. I walked to the workbench where I'd spread out 15 years of shipping manifests. Don't report it. Let him think he got away with it. You're planning something. I'm planning to let him hang himself, and when he's really committed, that's when we close the door. You've got 2 weeks. After that, if I see any irregularities, I file reports. Understood. The door from the house opened. Linda stepped into the garage with fresh coffee. Robert called. Jared tried to steal shipping contracts using my old credentials. And I told Robert to let it go. Linda smiled. She'd been an accountant before Jared, before she'd decided staying home was worth more than the salary. But she'd never stopped thinking like an accountant. You're going to dismantle him, she said. I'm going to let him dismantle himself. What do you need? Access to the old root protocols, and I need to know who Jared's still talking to at the company. Taylor's been posting about corporate injustice on Instagram. She's tagging Jared's old colleagues. Linda pulled out her phone. Marcus Chen in dispatch, Jennifer Alvarez in billing, Tom Pritchard in logistics. Tom Pritchard. Young guy, ambitious, always asking questions. I'd liked him. Tom's going to be the weak point. He'll think he can help Jared. So we use him. If Jared's going to make his next move, he'll need someone inside feeding him information. Tom's perfect, helpful, naive. And you're going to feed him information. Not yet. First, I need to understand what Jared's actually trying to do. Linda nodded. And revenge? Revenge is both clever and smart, I said. If you do it right. My phone buzzed. Text from Tom Pritchard. Mr. Rowe, question about the 2019 root protocols. Do you have a few minutes? I stared at the screen, then typed, Sure, what's the question? The trap was setting itself. Tom called instead of texting back. Mr. Rowe, the Columbus Route Manifest from late 2019 mentions a tertiary authorization chain. Can't find it in the current system. Was it discontinued? Deep in the weeds. The tertiary chain was discontinued in 2021. Why are you asking? Jared asked me to look into it. He said he might be consulting on route optimization projects. Jared was positioning himself as a freight consultant, probably planning to poach clients from Rowe Freight. Not technically illegal, but ethically grimy. Tell you what, Tom, I've got old documentation at home. If Jared's serious about learning, I'm happy to help. Can you meet me tomorrow at the Millstone Diner, 3 o'clock? Really? That would be great. Let's keep this between us for now. He and I haven't been on great terms lately. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I hung up and finished my beer. My phone buzzed again. Linda. Well? Jared's playing consultant, meeting Tom tomorrow. Going to give him exactly what he thinks he wants. Be careful. Always am. I drove home through freezing rain. Linda was in the kitchen, laptop open, surrounded by printed Instagram posts. Taylor's getting sloppy. Look at this. Taylor's feed showed increasingly aggressive posts about family betrayal and corrupt power structures. One from this morning. When your family's company fires you for defending boundaries, maybe it's time to show them what real success looks like. She's going to announce something big, Linda said. Let her. What's her engagement rate? Down 40% from her peak. She's losing followers. The assault thing hurt her brand. Desperate and visible. Perfect combination. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Taylor's always been her own worst enemy, and performances can be edited. Linda smiled. You have that video. From last Thanksgiving. Taylor had 3 glasses of wine too many and started holding court about old generation mindsets and how I was a perfect example of men who needed to shut up and listen. I'd left the room. Linda had stayed, phone recording. If I leak that video now, Linda said slowly, with her current visibility, it goes viral, Not in a good way. Has to look organic, can't come from us. I scrolled through contacts. Remember Diane Kowalski? Retired from billing same time I did? The one with the big family? 5 grandkids, all under 25, all extremely online. I started typing. If I happened to mention there's video of Taylor trashing me, and Diane happened to mention it to her granddaughter with 50,000 TikTok followers. 3 degrees of separation. Can't be traced. I sent the text asking Diane for coffee. Got an immediate yes. Now let's talk about what I'm giving Tom tomorrow. Linda pulled out a legal pad. I'm listening. The old routing protocols have authorization chains discontinued in 2021, but the archives still show them as valid if you know where to look. Ghosts in the machine. And if Jared tries to use them, he'll create a paper trail showing fraud, which means Robert has legal grounds to go after him. Linda stood, came to the window. You're enjoying this. Is that wrong? No. I think maybe it's the most honest thing you've done in years. Maybe she was right. Maybe this was the most honest version of myself I'd been in a long time. The Millstone Diner was chrome fixtures and red vinyl booths. Tom Pritchard arrived nervous, carrying a new leather notebook. Mr. Rowe, thanks for meeting me. Call me Daniel. We're not at the office. The waitress poured coffee. Tom ordered a Coke. I asked for pie. Tell me what Jared's actually trying to do. Tom hesitated. He said he's setting up a consulting business, route optimization for smaller freight companies. Disruption. That's a word people use when they don't understand the thing they're disrupting. Tom didn't argue. But here's the thing. He's still my son. If he's serious about learning logistics, I'll help him. So you're really going to teach him the advanced protocols? I'm going to give him information. What he does with it is his choice. I took a bite of pie. The 2019 protocols were designed as redundancy systems, tertiary authorization chains that would activate if primary and secondary failed. But when we updated in 2021, those chains became obsolete. Didn't delete them, just made them inactive. Tom was writing this down. They're still in the archives, still look official, but they don't actually authorize anything. So if someone tried to use them, it would flag as an anomaly, create a record showing attempted use of invalid protocols, which could look like fraud. Tom stopped writing. You're warning me. I'm informing you. Big difference. Why tell me and not him directly? Because I'm tired of protecting him from himself. Jared's 33, old enough to make his own mistakes. I pushed a manila folder across the table. Everything you asked about is in here. Give it to Jared. Tell him I want to help. Tom picked up the folder carefully. You're setting him up. I'm giving him exactly what he asked for. What he does with it is his choice. Tom left. I finished my pie, then called Linda. It's done. Tom has the protocols. How long until Jared makes his move? 48 hours, maybe less. And the video? Had coffee with Diane this morning. Her granddaughter posts it by tomorrow evening. You're a cold man, Daniel Rowe. I'm a careful man. There's a difference. I drove home through early winter dark, Springsteen on the radio. Atlantic City. Everything changes, baby. That's a fact. But maybe everything that's lost can come back. I was 3 days from delivery, and I'd never missed a deadline in my life. The video went viral at 9:47 p.m. on Friday night. I was in bed, reading a paperback thriller about a detective chasing a fugitive through the backwoods of Montana, when Linda's phone started buzzing like an angry hornet. She picked it up, scrolled for maybe 10 seconds, then showed me the screen. Diane's granddaughter, username Shara Knows Best, 53,000 followers, had posted a 2-minute clip titled, "This is why we need to talk about family issues." The thumbnail showed Taylor's face, wine glass in hand, mouth open mid-rant. The view count was already at 12,000. Linda played it. Taylor's voice filled our bedroom, shrill with wine and righteousness. Some old men only learn respect when they get slapped. Literally slapped. My father-in-law is a perfect example. 40 years of talking over people, dismissing women, that whole toxic boomer energy. And you know what? I taught him a lesson at his own family gathering. Because boundaries aren't suggestions. Cut to her demonstrating the slap, laughing. Cut to Jared in the background also laughing, raising his glass. The video ended with text overlay. Harm within a family is never okay, no matter who does it. Jesus, I said quietly. Linda refreshed the page. 15,000 views, 20,000. The comments were multiplying faster than we could read them. She's done, Linda said. Professionally, socially, completely done. She did it to herself, I said. But I felt something twist in my chest, not quite guilt, but an awareness that we'd turned a key and opened a door, and what came through wasn't entirely under our control anymore. Linda's eyes were hard. She punched you in the face, Daniel. She laughed about it. This is consequences, not cruelty. I know. Do you? I thought about the black eye, still faintly yellowed around the edges. Thought about standing in Franco's while my son boasted about how his wife treated him. Thought about 40 years of swallowing pride. Yeah, I said. I do. By midnight, the video had hit 100,000 views. By 2 a.m., it was at 500,000. I didn't sleep. Just lay there in the dark, listening to Linda's breathing beside me, thinking about trajectories and consequences and the moment when motion becomes inevitable. Saturday morning, my phone rang at 7:30. Robert. I assume you've seen the video, he said without preamble. I've seen it. Any idea how it got out there? No idea at all, I lied. But I can't say I'm surprised. Taylor performed her whole life on social media. Eventually, the performance turns on you. The board is asking questions, Robert said. Questions about Jared, about the family, about whether this reflects poorly on the company. I'm telling them it's a personal matter, that Jared hasn't been employed here for over a week, that Taylor was never connected to Rowe Freight in any capacity. But they're spooked. Want to make sure there are no other surprises coming. No other liabilities. There won't be, I said. You sound very confident about that. I'm confident that whatever Jared does next, it won't touch the company. Or you. Robert was quiet for a beat. Daniel, what exactly are you planning? I'm not planning anything, Rob. I'm just responding to events as they unfold. Nonsense, Robert said, but there was no heat in it. You've been responding to events your whole life. This is different. This is proactive. Maybe, I admitted. Maybe I'm tired of responding. Maybe I'm finally taking initiative. Just be careful. I can't protect you if this goes sideways. I'm not asking you to. We hung up. Linda was already downstairs, coffee brewing, laptop open. She'd printed out screenshots of Taylor's Instagram. The feed had gone private sometime after 3 a.m., but not before the damage was complete. She's getting threats, Linda said, showing me the printed comments. People are calling her an abuser, an assaulter, a violent narcissist. There's even a petition to ban her from Instagram altogether. She'll survive, I said, but I wasn't sure I believed it. The question is whether Jared survives, Linda said. He's in that video too, laughing, celebrating. That's not going to play well for his consulting business pitch. Has he made any public moves yet? Announced anything? Linda pulled up a business registration website. He filed LLC paperwork Wednesday. Rowe Route Optimization, LLC. Registered agent, Jared A. Rowe. Business purpose, freight logistics consulting and route optimization services. He used his own name, I said. Used our family name. Probably thinks it gives him credibility. Trades on your reputation and Robert's company. I stared at the screen. Rowe Route Optimization. Like he'd built something, earned something, created any value beyond his last name and his uncle's charity. When's he going to launch? I asked. According to his LinkedIn, which he updated Thursday, he's offering a free consultation webinar next Friday. Revolutionary approaches to freight optimization from an industry insider. An industry insider who just got fired for incompetence and whose wife is now a viral villain. Timing could be better, Linda agreed. I poured myself coffee, stood at the kitchen window watching snow fall on our backyard. The bird feeder was empty. I'd need to fill it later. Normal Saturday tasks. Ordinary life, proceeding while I dismantled my son's future with the precision of a freight coordinator routing hazardous materials. "What's our next move?" Linda asked. "We wait," I said. "Jared's going to panic now. The video hurts Taylor, which means it hurts him. He'll double down on the consulting business, try to prove he's legitimate, try to salvage something. And when he does, you'll be ready." "I'm already ready. I've been ready since he laughed at my birthday dinner." Linda came to stand beside me. "No regrets?" Not one. That was true. Whatever guilt I'd felt at 2 a.m. had burned away in daylight. This wasn't about revenge anymore, or maybe it had always been about revenge, and I was just done pretending otherwise. Jared had spent 33 years learning that actions didn't have consequences, that family was a shield, that effort was optional. Time for a different kind of education. The doorbell rang. Linda and I looked at each other. 7:52 a.m. on a Saturday, not the time for casual visits. I walked to the door, checked the peephole. Jared. He looked like he'd been up all night. Red eyes, rumpled clothes, stubble thick on his jaw. Behind him, Taylor sat in their car, head in her hands. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. "We need to talk," Jared said. His voice was ragged, desperate. "Dad, please, this is out of control." "What's out of control?" "The video. Someone leaked Taylor's video. It's everywhere. She's being torn apart online. We're getting threats. Her business is gone, and now people are connecting it to me, to the company, saying I'm just as bad." "Are you?" I asked. "What?" "Just as bad. In the video, you're laughing, celebrating, raising your glass while she brags about hitting me." Jared's face cycled through shame, anger, defiance, landed on desperation. "I was drunk. It was a mistake. Dad, come on. You know I didn't mean—" "I know exactly what you meant," I said. "You meant every word, every laugh. You meant it when you humiliated me at my birthday. You meant it when you tried to steal company contracts using my credentials. You meant all of it. How do you know about the contracts? Because I'm not stupid, Jared. Neither is your uncle. We've been watching you self-destruct for years. The only difference now is we're not catching you anymore." "I'm your son." "Yeah," I said. "You are, and I'm trying to decide if that still means anything." Taylor got out of the car, walked up the driveway. Her face was splotchy from crying, makeup smeared. "Mr. Rowe, please, we need help. We need this video taken down. Can you talk to whoever posted it? Can you—" "I have no idea who posted it," I said. "But even if I did, I wouldn't help you. You made that video, Taylor. You said those words. You hit me, bragged about it, and laughed. This is called consequences. You're enjoying this," she spat. "You set this up." "I'm not enjoying anything," I said. And that was mostly true. There was satisfaction, yes, but it was cold satisfaction, the kind you feel when a complex system finally works the way you designed it. "But I'm not stopping it either." Jared grabbed my arm. "Dad, please, I'm trying to start a business, trying to build something. This video is tearing me apart before I even launch. Just help me, please." I looked at his hand on my arm, looked at his face, saw my son, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, helped with homework, and driven to baseball practice, and I felt nothing. "Let go of me," I said quietly. He did. "You want my help?" I said. "Here's my help. Stop. Stop the consulting business. Stop using our family name. Stop pretending you're building something when you're just recycling other people's work. Get a real job, a modest job. Learn what effort actually means, and maybe in 5 or 10 years we can talk again." "You're cutting me off." "I'm letting you stand on your own," I corrected. Something I should have done years ago. I stepped back inside and closed the door. Through the window, I watched Jared and Taylor walk back to their car, watched them sit there for 5 minutes, arguing or crying or both, then watched them drive away. Linda appeared beside me. "How do you feel?" "Ask me next week," I said, but I already knew the answer. Monday morning, 9:15 a.m., Tom Pritchard called me. "Mr. Rowe, Daniel, we have a problem." I was in the garage, organizing spare parts for the lawnmower I wouldn't need until April. "What kind of problem?" "Jared contacted me yesterday. Told me to submit route authorization requests using those tertiary protocols you gave me. Said he had 3 clients ready to sign, and he needed the authorizations to finalize the contracts." "Did you submit them?" "No, that's why I'm calling." Something felt wrong. The clients he mentioned, I looked them up. 2 of them don't exist, just shell websites with no actual business history. The 3rd one is real, but they're based in Kentucky, and they already have a freight contract with a company in Louisville. Smart kid. So Jared's fabricating clients? Or trying to. I think he's building a fake portfolio to attract real clients, trying to look legitimate by creating phantom business. And he needs the authorization protocols to make it look official. Exactly. But Daniel... Tom's voice dropped. "If I submit those requests, even for fake clients, won't that create a paper trail showing I attempted to use invalid authorization codes?" "Yes," I said. "It would. So he's setting me up? Using me as the fall guy if this goes bad?" "Probably. Or he's just desperate and not thinking clearly. Either way, you're smart not to submit those requests." "What should I do?" I thought about that. Tom was a good kid. Didn't deserve to get caught in the blast radius of Jared's collapse. But he was also a useful variable in the equation. "Document everything," I said. "Every conversation with Jared, every request, every weird detail, dates, times, exact wording, keep it in a secure file." "You think this is going to blow up?" "I think Jared's building something that can't stand up to scrutiny. When it falls, people are going to want to know who knew what and when. You want to be on the right side of that question." "Should I tell Robert?" "Not yet. Give Jared enough rope. If you warn Robert now, Jared just disappears and tries again somewhere else. Better to let him commit fully, document the whole thing, then bring it to Robert when there's no ambiguity." "That feels like entrapment." "It's not entrapment if he's actually committing fraud," I said. "It's just documentation." Tom was quiet. Then, "You're really going to let your own son hang himself?" "I'm going to let my son make his own choices," I said, "and live with the consequences. That's not cruelty, Tom. That's parenting." We hung up. I stood in the garage, holding a carburetor from my old lawn mower, thinking about systems and cause and effect. Linda appeared in the doorway. "Tom?" "Jared's building a phantom client portfolio, trying to use the tertiary protocols to create fake authorizations." "So it's working." "Better than expected." I set down the carburetor. "He's not just trying to steal business, he's trying to create business from nothing, which means when it falls apart, it looks like fraud, not just incompetence." "Exactly." Linda leaned against the doorframe. "The webinar is Friday. You think he'll try to use the phantom clients as success stories?" "I'd bet on it. He needs proof of concept. Needs to show potential clients that he's already done deals, already optimized routes. The phantom clients are his resume." "And when Robert checks?" "When Robert checks, and he will check, because that's who Robert is, the whole house of cards comes down. Fake clients, invalid authorizations, attempted fraud. Robert has to report it, has to protect the company. And Jared goes from fired family member to actual criminal." I didn't answer, didn't need to. Linda pushed off the doorframe. "I'm going to the grocery store. Need anything?" "No." "Daniel." She waited until I looked at her. "You're sure about this? Because once this train leaves the station..." "I'm sure." She nodded and left. I heard the car start, heard her drive away. I stood alone in the garage, surrounded by tools and parts and the accumulated debris of a life spent fixing things. But some things, I was learning, couldn't be fixed. Some things had to break completely before you could build anything new. That night, Jared's webinar registration went live. Linda showed me the landing page. Professional design, stock photos of trucks and warehouses, testimonials from satisfied clients that I'd bet my pension were fabricated. Revolutionary route optimization, a new approach to freight logistics. Hosted by Jared A. Rowe, logistics consultant and industry innovator. Friday, 2 p.m. EST, free registration, limited spaces available. He's selling a dream, Linda said. Fast success, easy money, revolutionary thinking. He's selling shortcuts, I corrected, because that's all he knows. The promotional copy promised insider knowledge from a logistics family dynasty and proven methodologies tested across hundreds of routes. The whole thing reeked of desperation dressed up as confidence. How many people have registered? I asked. Linda pulled up the back-end analytics. She'd created a fake registration just to see the numbers. 47 so far. Small, but he only launched this morning. 47 people about to learn that logistics isn't a webinar. It's a lifetime. Wednesday afternoon, Robert called again. Daniel, I need you to come to the office. There's something you need to see. What is it? Just come. Bring Linda if you want. This isn't a quick conversation. We drove to Rowe Freight Solutions in silence. The building hadn't changed since I'd retired. Same brick facade, same efficient parking lot, same security system I'd helped design in 2012. But walking through those doors felt different now, like returning to a battlefield. Robert's office was on the 3rd floor, corner view overlooking the warehouse. He was waiting for us, along with Patricia Mendez, the company's legal counsel. That's when I knew this was serious. Sit, Robert said. We sat. Patricia opened a laptop, pulled up a document. We've been conducting a routine audit of authorization protocols, cross-referencing them with active contracts. Standard procedure, happens quarterly. She clicked through several screens. We found anomalies. Authorization requests that referenced protocols no longer active in the system. The requests were flagged and quarantined, never processed, but they exist in the log. How many? I asked, though I already knew. 7. All submitted within the last 4 days. All using tertiary authorization codes discontinued in 2021. All attributed to Daniel Rowe as the authorizing party. Linda's hand found mine under the table. The requests attempted to establish contracts with 3 entities, Patricia continued. Summit Freight Solutions, Delta Route Services, and Keystone Logistics Partners. We investigated all 3. 2 are shell companies with no physical address and no business history. The 3rd exists, but already has an exclusive freight contract with another provider. Jared, Robert said quietly. It wasn't a question. Jared, I confirmed. Did you give him authorization codes? I gave him historical documentation, protocol diagrams from my time as coordinator, information that's technically public if you know where to look in the archives. But you knew he'd try to use them. I met my brother's eyes. I knew he'd do something. I didn't know what exactly. Robert stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the warehouse where trucks were loading and unloading, the daily rhythm of freight that never stopped, never slowed. I have to report this, he said. To the board, to legal, possibly to law enforcement if it qualifies as fraud. I know. He's your son, Daniel. He's a criminal, I said. Or trying to be. There's a difference between family loyalty and enabling corruption. Patricia closed the laptop. Mr. Rowe, Daniel, I need to ask you directly. Did you provide these codes to Jared knowing he would attempt to use them fraudulently? No, I said. And that was technically true. I'd given them to Tom Pritchard, not Jared. Let Tom make his own choices about what to do with the information. But you suspected he might try something? I suspected he was desperate, I said. Desperate people make bad choices. That's not my fault. But you didn't warn him, didn't try to stop him. I'm not his keeper, I said. I'm his father. There's a difference. Patricia made notes on a legal pad. Robert continued, staring out the window. The webinar is Friday, Robert said finally. I've registered under a fake name. I want to see what he's selling, what promises he's making. If he's using company information, if he's claiming false credentials, I need to know the full scope before I decide how to proceed. You're giving him one last chance, Linda said. I'm giving him one last opportunity to tell the truth, Robert corrected. If he comes clean, admits he was desperate, asks for help, maybe we can fix this quietly, get him counseling, get him real job training, something. And if he doesn't come clean? Robert turned from the window. His face was stone. Then I call Patricia. Patricia calls the police, and Jared learns what accountability actually means. We left the office 20 minutes later, walked to our car in the fading afternoon light. Snow was falling again, light flurries that wouldn't amount to much. 2 more days, Linda said. Then it's over. One way or another, I agreed. But I knew which way it would go. Knew Jared well enough to understand that he'd never come clean, never admit fault, never choose honesty over image. He'd built his whole life on shortcuts and charm and other people's tolerance. He wouldn't change now. Friday was going to be a reckoning, and I was going to have a front row seat. Friday morning arrived with clear skies and temperatures just above freezing. I woke at 5:30, couldn't fall back asleep, so I made coffee and sat in the garage going through old route maps from 2018. Not because I needed to, because rituals matter when you're about to watch your son destroy himself. Linda found me at 7. Wow. You're nervous. I'm prepared, I said. There's a difference. You're both. Maybe she was right. There's something about watching a carefully constructed plan finally execute, the relief mixed with tension, the knowledge that once certain things start moving, they can't be stopped. The webinar was scheduled for 2 p.m. Robert had sent me the login credentials he'd used to register. Username, Mike Stevens. Email from a burner account. We'd all be watching. Me, Linda, Robert from his office, Tom Pritchard from wherever he was hiding. At 1:55, I opened the webinar link on my laptop. Linda sat beside me, coffee in hand. The waiting screen showed Jared's face. Professional headshot, confident smile, suit that probably cost 2 weeks of the salary he no longer earned. Revolutionary route optimization, a new approach to freight logistics. 2 p.m. struck. The screen shifted. Jared appeared, sitting in what looked like a home office setup. Bookshelf behind him, decent lighting, professional microphone. He'd cleaned up since Saturday. Fresh shave, crisp shirt, hair styled. The image of competence. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Jared Rowe, founder and principal consultant at Rowe Route Optimization, LLC. His voice was smooth, practiced. He'd rehearsed this. Today, I'm going to share something that the traditional freight logistics industry doesn't want you to know. Something that could save your company thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, of dollars annually. Classic sales pitch. Create an enemy. Promise salvation. For decades, the freight industry has operated on outdated methodologies, complex authorization chains, Byzantine routing protocols, systems designed in the 1990s and barely updated since. The result? Waste, inefficiency, lost profit. He clicked to a slide showing a tangled mess of lines and nodes. This is a typical routing authorization chain. Notice the redundancy, the excessive checkpoints. Every single one of these nodes costs time and money. Another click. A simpler diagram. This is the optimized approach. Streamlined authorization, direct routing, minimal overhead. Same delivery outcomes, half the cost. Linda leaned close to me. He's selling the tertiary protocols, the discontinued ones. Yeah, I said quietly. Jared continued. Now, I know what you're thinking. If it's this simple, why isn't everyone doing it? The answer is legacy, inertia, fear of change. The big freight companies are locked into their old systems because admitting those systems are inefficient would mean admitting decades of waste. He smiled, and it was the same smile he'd worn at my birthday dinner before everything went wrong. Confident, superior, ignorant of the pit opening beneath him. But some companies have already made the switch. Let me tell you about 3 clients I've worked with recently. Summit Freight Solutions, Delta Route Services, Keystone Logistics Partners, the phantom clients. He clicked through slides showing fabricated metrics, delivery time improvements, cost reductions, customer satisfaction increases. All of it fake. All of it designed to look credible enough that small business owners wouldn't dig deeper. Summit Freight reduced their operating costs by 32% in the first quarter after implementation, Jared said. Delta Route Services improved delivery times by 40%. Keystone Logistics Partners, that's a Kentucky-based operation. They're now competing with companies 3 times their size because they're operating smarter, not just harder. He was good. I had to give him that. The presentation was polished, the examples specific enough to sound real, the promise attractive enough to override skepticism. So here's my offer, Jared said, leaning toward the camera. For the first 10 companies that sign a consulting contract with Rowe Route Optimization, I'm offering a comprehensive audit at half my standard rate. We'll analyze your current routing protocols, identify inefficiencies, and implement a streamlined system based on proven methodologies. Proven. What a word. My family has been in freight logistics for over 40 years. I grew up in this industry, learned from the best, and now I'm taking that knowledge and making it accessible to companies that don't have Fortune 500 budgets. The Q&A session started. Someone asked about his credentials. Jared rattled off his 8 years at Rowe Freight Solutions, his deep understanding of authorization systems, his unique insider perspective. Someone else asked for references from the clients he'd mentioned. Jared smoothly deflected. Due to confidentiality agreements, I can't share specific contact information, but I'm happy to provide anonymized case studies and testimonial letters. Anonymized, meaning fabricated. The webinar lasted 45 minutes. When it ended, 73 people had attended. 12 had submitted contact information requesting follow-up consultations. Jared had sold the dream, sold it well, and in doing so, had sealed his fate. I closed the laptop. The house was quiet except for the furnace humming. Now what? Linda asked. Now Robert makes his move. My phone rang 10 seconds later. Robert. Did you watch? Every minute. He committed fraud, Daniel, on camera, in front of 73 witnesses. I know. Summit Freight and Delta Route Services don't exist. Keystone Logistics Partners denied ever working with him. I called them during the webinar. And those authorization protocols he's selling, the ones he claims revolutionized the industry, they're discontinued codes that would flag as invalid the moment anyone tried to use them. So what are you going to do? Robert's voice was tired, sad, resigned. Patricia's drafting a report for the board. We're filing a formal complaint with the State Commerce Commission. And I'm calling the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office Monday morning. Criminal charges. Wire fraud? Potentially. False representation? Definitely. Using the family name and implied connection to Rowe Freight to defraud potential clients. Daniel, this isn't just a civil matter anymore. Your son recorded himself attempting to defraud people. He's not my problem, I said, and meant it. You really believe that? I believe he made choices, adult choices, with full knowledge of the consequences. Did he? Or did you set him up? I gave him information. What he did with that information was his choice. Robert sighed. I don't know whether to admire you or be terrified of you. You can be both, I said. I am. We hung up. Linda was watching me, her face unreadable. You feel anything? She asked. I thought about that. Searched for guilt, regret, hesitation. Found none. I feel finished, I said. Like I've been carrying something for 33 years and I finally put it down. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. That night, Jared called. I didn't answer. He called Linda. She didn't answer. He called 6 more times, then sent a text. Dad, we need to talk. Something's wrong with the protocols you gave me. People are asking questions I can't answer. Please call me back. I deleted the text. At 9:30 p.m., someone rang our doorbell. Linda looked through the peephole. It's Jared and Taylor. Don't answer. Daniel, don't answer, I repeated. We're done having conversations with them. The doorbell rang again. Again. Then pounding on the door. I know you're in there. Jared's voice, muffled but clear. Dad, please, I need help. The clients, the protocols, nothing's working. Everything you gave me is wrong. More pounding. You set me up, and you're just going to let me hang. What kind of father does that? Linda moved toward the door. I caught her arm. No, I said. He's our son. He's a criminal. Let him work it out. The pounding continued for 5 more minutes, then stopped. Car doors slammed, engine started, drove away. Linda pulled her arm free. You're enjoying this? I'm not. Then what are you feeling? Relief, I said. For the first time in decades, I'm feeling relief. She stared at me for a long moment, then nodded and went upstairs. I sat in the dark living room, listening to the house settle, thinking about freight routes and pressure points, and the satisfaction of watching a plan execute perfectly. Monday morning, Robert filed his report. Tuesday, Patricia Mendez submitted documentation to the county prosecutor. Wednesday, I got a call from a Detective Williams asking if I'd be willing to make a statement regarding my son's business activities. I said yes. Everything was in motion now. The freight was moving, the route was locked in, and there were no stops scheduled until we reached the destination. The meeting was scheduled for Friday, 10 a.m. at Rowe Freight Solutions headquarters. Conference room 3B, 3rd floor, the one with glass walls overlooking the warehouse floor. Robert had called it an evaluation session when he'd sent the calendar invites Wednesday evening. Attendees, Robert Rowe, Daniel Rowe, Patricia Mendez, Jared Rowe, Taylor Rowe, and 3 senior managers whose presence signaled this wasn't a casual conversation. I wore a suit. First time in 2 years. Linda helped me with the tie, her fingers steady while mine weren't quite. You ready? She asked. I've been ready since he laughed at my birthday. That's not what I asked. I met her eyes in the mirror. Yeah, I'm ready. We drove separately. Linda would wait in the parking lot, listen to her audiobook, be there when it was over. She squeezed my hand before I got out of the car. Make it count, she said. I always do. The building looked the same as always. Brick, steel, efficiency. I badged in. Robert had temporarily reactivated my credentials and took the elevator to 3. The conference room was already populated. Robert at the head of the table, Patricia to his right, with a laptop and multiple folders. The 3 senior managers, Davidson from operations, Chen from dispatch, Kowalski from billing, sat along one side, faces carefully neutral. Jared and Taylor sat across from me. Jared looked like he'd aged 5 years in just 2 weeks, unshaven, shirt creased, eyes red-rimmed. Taylor looked even worse. No makeup, hair pulled back, that wild, restless look people get when they're running on nothing but adrenaline and fear. I took the empty seat next to Robert. Didn't look at Jared. Didn't acknowledge Taylor. Robert checked his watch. 10 eyes exactly. Thank you all for coming, he said. We're here to address several issues that have emerged over the past 2 weeks. Issues involving fraud, misrepresentation, and attempted theft of company resources. Taylor started to speak. Robert held up one hand. You'll get your chance. Right now, you listen. He nodded to Patricia. She opened the laptop, pulled up a document on the wall-mounted screen. On the dates listed here, 7 authorization requests were submitted to Rowe Freight Solutions routing system. Each request attempted to establish freight contracts with external entities. Each request used tertiary authorization protocols discontinued in our 2021 system update. The screen showed the requests. Timestamps, protocol codes, attributed authorizer, my name on everyone. These requests were flagged as invalid and quarantined, Patricia continued. However, their submission created a legal liability for the company. They constitute attempted fraud, using inactive protocols to create the appearance of legitimate authorization. I didn't submit those, Jared said. His voice was raw. I mean, I asked Tom Pritchard to submit them, but I didn't know the protocols were invalid. Dad gave me those protocols, told me they were standard procedure. Did he? Robert asked. He looked at me. I gave you historical documentation, I said, addressing Jared directly for the first time. Protocol diagrams from 2015 to 2021. The information was clearly dated. The documentation explicitly noted which protocols were discontinued and when. You knew I wouldn't read the details. I knew you never read the details, I corrected. That's not the same thing. Jared lunged across the table. Davidson and Chen grabbed him, pushed him back into his seat. Taylor was crying, loud gasping sobs that filled the room. This is a setup, she screamed. You did this. You set him up because you're vindictive and petty, and you couldn't stand that he was building something without you. What was he building? I asked calmly. 3 shell companies, fabricated client testimonials, a business model based on selling discontinued protocols to people who don't know better. We had real interest. 12 companies wanted consultations. 12 companies were about to be defrauded, Patricia said. If any of them had paid for Mr. Rowe's services and implemented these protocols, their freight operations would have been flagged as invalid. They could have lost contracts, faced legal liability, suffered significant financial damage. That's not fraud, Taylor said. That's a mistake. A mistake is an accident, Robert said. What Jared did was deliberate. He created false client testimonials. He claimed results that never occurred with companies that don't exist. He recorded a webinar selling services based on his family legacy and insider knowledge, while using my company's reputation as implicit endorsement. He pulled out a folder, slid it across the table to Jared. This is a cease and desist order. You will immediately shut down Rowe Route Optimization, LLC. You will refund any deposits or payments received. You will send written retraction statements to everyone who attended your webinar. And you will never, under any circumstances, use the Rowe family name in connection with any business venture. You can't do that, Jared said. I can, and I am. The alternative is criminal prosecution for fraud. Patricia has already filed a preliminary report with the county prosecutor's office. They're reviewing it now. If you comply with the cease and desist, I'll ask them to drop the investigation. If you don't, Robert shrugged, then you'll explain your business model to a judge. The room was silent except for Taylor's crying. Jared looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. You did this, he said. You planned all of it. The protocols, the webinar, everything. You wanted me to fail. No, I said. I wanted you to succeed. But success requires work, integrity, humility, things you never learned because people kept protecting you from consequences. I'm your son. Yes, I said. And I'm trying to teach you something your mother and I should have taught you 30 years ago. Actions have consequences. Lies catch up with you. And family doesn't mean immunity. I hate you, Jared said. His voice was flat, empty. You'll get over it, I said. Or you won't. Either way, you'll survive. Robert stood up. We're done here. Jared, Taylor, you have 72 hours to comply with the cease and desist. After that, I'm out of options. Understood? They didn't answer. Just stood up, holding each other, and walked out of the conference room like survivors leaving a disaster site. The door closed. Patricia exhaled. That was brutal. That was necessary, Robert said. He looked at me. You okay? Fine, I said. And I was. The senior managers left. Patricia packed up her laptop and followed them. Robert and I sat alone in the conference room, looking out at the warehouse floor where trucks were loading and unloading, the work continuing regardless of family drama. What now? Robert asked. Now nothing, I said. It's done. You think Jared will comply? I think he doesn't have a choice. And if he comes after you, tries to blame you publicly, let him try, I said. Everything I did was legal. Everything he did wasn't. The math is pretty simple. Robert nodded slowly. You're different. Since the birthday, since all this started, you're harder. I'm finished being soft, I said. Finished protecting people from themselves. Including your own son. Especially my own son. We sat there for another minute not talking, just existing in that space where two brothers who've known each other for 60 years don't need constant words. You did good work here, Daniel, Robert said finally. Building this company, designing these systems, you should be proud. I am, I said. But I'm prouder of this, of finally drawing a line. What line? The one between family and accountability, I said. Turns out they're not mutually exclusive. I stood up, shook my brother's hand, and walked out of the conference room. Linda was waiting in the parking lot, engine running, heat blasting. I got in the passenger seat. How did it go? She asked. It went. And? And it's done. Robert gave him 72 hours to shut down the business. Jared called me vindictive. Taylor cried. The usual. How do you feel? Hungry, I said. Let's get lunch. We drove to the Millstone Diner. I ordered a burger and fries. Linda got a salad. We ate without talking much, just comfortable silence and the ambient noise of truckers and travelers. My phone buzzed, text from Tom Pritchard. Heard about the meeting. You okay? I typed back, fine, thanks for the documentation. It made the difference. Glad I could help. Jared was using me. You taught me that matters. I put the phone away. Linda reached across the table, took my hand. No regrets? Not one, I said, and I meant it. The following Monday, I woke up to 17 missed calls. I checked the voicemail. The first 6 were from Jared, increasingly desperate, begging me to make this right and talk to Robert, and please, Dad, I'm drowning here. I deleted them. 3 calls were from numbers I didn't recognize, probably reporters or people from the webinar who'd connected the dots and wanted comments. Deleted. 2 were from a law office in Columbus representing interested parties in the matter of Rowe Route Optimization, LLC. Deleted. 1 was from Detective Williams asking if I could come in for a follow-up statement. That one I saved. The last 5 were hang-ups, probably Taylor. Linda came downstairs at 6:30, already dressed, already focused. They're not going quietly. Didn't expect them to, I said. There's more. She showed me her phone, Facebook posts from Taylor written at 2:47 a.m., angry and sprawling and completely unhinged. My father-in-law destroyed our lives because we stood up for boundaries. He systematically sabotaged my husband's business, leaked private videos, turned the family against us. This is elder abuse in reverse. This is narcissistic revenge. 200 comments, mostly from people who didn't know the full story, some supportive, more skeptical. A few pointed out that hitting someone wasn't standing up for boundaries. She's building a narrative, Linda said, positioning herself as the victim. Let her, I said. Narratives don't hold up against documentation. We have timestamps, emails, recordings. She has Facebook posts at 3 a.m. What if she tries to sue? For what? Emotional distress? Good luck proving damages when she's the one who posted the video of herself bragging about assault. Linda made coffee. I checked my email. 47 new messages since Friday, most of them automated or spam. but 3 caught my attention. First, an email from Patricia Mendez with the subject line, Criminal Investigation Update. I opened it. Daniel. Per our conversation Friday, the prosecutor's office has officially opened an investigation into Jared's business activities. They're looking at wire fraud, false representation, and attempted theft of proprietary business systems. Detective Williams will want a comprehensive statement from you regarding the tertiary protocols and how Jared obtained them. Please coordinate with him directly. Robert and I will provide supporting documentation from the company's side. Patricia. Second, an email from Tom Pritchard. Mr. Rowe, Jared contacted me this weekend demanding I corroborate his version of events. Said you deliberately gave him bad information and I was a witness to it. I told him no. I told him I documented everything and would testify honestly if needed. He threatened to sue me. Just wanted you to know. Also wanted to say thank you for teaching me the difference between loyalty and complicity. Tom. Third, an email from a name I didn't recognize. Subject line, saw your son's webinar. I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. Mr. Rowe, my name is Marcus Webb. I attended Jared Rowe's webinar last Friday and submitted a request for consultation. After doing some research and speaking with colleagues in the industry, I've learned that the protocols he was selling are outdated and potentially fraudulent. I'm writing to ask if you had any involvement in his business venture and, if not, whether you're aware that he's using your name and reputation to attract clients. I've worked in freight logistics for 15 years, and I know your reputation. This doesn't match. Wanted to give you a heads up. Mr. Webb. I forwarded the email to Patricia. Evidence that Jared was actively misusing family reputation. Might be relevant to the investigation. She replied within minutes. Very relevant. Thank you. The next 72 hours were a blur of phone calls, emails, and documentation. Detective Williams came to our house Tuesday afternoon, recorded a 2-hour statement covering everything from the birthday dinner to the tertiary protocols to the webinar. He was professional, thorough, and clearly disturbed by the whole situation. In 20 years of fraud investigations, he said as he was leaving, I've never seen a case where the victim was the perpetrator's father. I'm not the victim, I said. His potential clients are the victims. I'm just the witness. Still, Williams said, it takes guts to do what you did. Or coldness, I said. Depends on your perspective. Wednesday afternoon, Robert called. Jared missed the 72-hour deadline. Rowe route optimization is still active, the website's still up, and he's still advertising consultations on LinkedIn. So what now? Now I file for injunctive relief, ask a judge to force him to shut down immediately, and I fully cooperate with the prosecutor's investigation. No more family favors. Good, I said. Daniel, are you sure about this? Because once the legal system gets involved, there's no taking it back. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He's going to blame you, publicly, loudly. I know. And you're okay with that? I'm at peace with it, I said, which isn't the same thing as okay, but it's close enough. Thursday morning, Jared posted a long statement on LinkedIn. I've been the victim of a coordinated sabotage campaign by family members who couldn't accept that I was building something independent of their control. My father, Daniel Rowe, deliberately provided me with outdated and invalid business protocols, knowing I would trust him and use them. When I did, he reported me to my uncle and triggered a fraudulent investigation designed to destroy my business before it could succeed. This is abuse. This is what toxic family dynamics look like. I'm not giving up. I'm fighting back, and I'm going to expose what really happened. The post had 87 comments, mostly from people arguing both sides. Several former Rowe Freight employees weighed in, though, offering versions of, Jared was lazy and incompetent long before this happened. One comment, from someone named Jennifer Alvarez, I worked with Jared for 3 years. He never completed a project on time, never took responsibility for mistakes, and only kept his job because of nepotism. This narrative of victimhood is laughable. Linda showed me the comments. Public opinion is turning against him. Public opinion doesn't matter, I said. The prosecutor's evidence matters. Friday afternoon, the injunction was granted. Rowe route optimization was officially shut down by court order. Jared had 7 days to comply or face contempt charges. That night, Taylor called Linda. Linda put it on speaker so I could hear. "You've destroyed us," Taylor said. Her voice was hoarse, probably from crying. "We have nothing left. No business, no reputation, no money. You're so proud of yourselves, aren't you?" "We didn't destroy anything," Linda said calmly. "You destroyed it yourselves when you chose to build something on lies." "We were desperate. Jared was fired for no reason." "He was fired for being incompetent and celebrating his wife's assault of his father," Linda corrected. "That's not no reason. That's consequences." "I hope you're happy," Taylor spat. "I hope you sleep well knowing you ruined your own son's life." "I sleep fine," Linda said. "How about you?" Taylor hung up. Linda looked at me. "You really do sleep fine, don't you?" "Like a baby," I said. "First time in years." That was true. The knot of tension I'd carried for decades, the constant low-level anxiety about Jared, about his choices, about his future, had simply dissolved. I'd done everything I could. I'd taught him, supported him, protected him, and when all of that failed, I'd let him face the natural consequences of his actions. I wasn't his keeper anymore. I was just a man who'd drawn a line and finally learned to stand behind it. The final meeting was scheduled for the following Friday, 11 days after the initial evaluation session. Same conference room, same participants, except this time the county prosecutor was attending via video conference. I dressed carefully, suit, tie, dress shoes I'd polished the night before. Linda offered to come, but I told her this was something I needed to do alone. "You sure?" she asked. "Positive." "What do you think is going to happen?" "I think Jared's going to learn what accountability actually means," I said. I arrived at 9:45. The conference room was already set up, laptop connected to the big screen, documents arranged in neat stacks, water bottles placed at each seat. Robert was there, along with Patricia. The prosecutor, a woman named Karen Sutherland, was already on screen, reviewing notes. Jared and Taylor arrived at 9:58, escorted by a court-appointed attorney, a young guy in an ill-fitting suit who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. We sat. Robert called the meeting to order. "Thank you all for coming," he said. "Ms. Sutherland has asked for this meeting to present findings from the investigation and discuss potential resolutions." Sutherland cleared her throat. "Mr. Jared Rowe, Ms. Taylor Rowe, I've reviewed the evidence submitted by Rowe Freight Solutions, statements from multiple witnesses, and documentation of your business activities. I'm prepared to offer you a choice." She pulled up a document on screen. Choice 1. You plead guilty to 1 count of wire fraud and 2 counts of false representation in commercial activities. You'll receive a suspended sentence, probation, and mandatory restitution to anyone who paid for your services. You'll also be permanently prohibited from operating any business in the freight logistics industry. Jared's face went white. Choice 2. You fight this in court. We go to trial, and if you lose, which you will because the evidence is overwhelming, you're looking at actual prison time. 2 to 5 years, depending on the judge. "That's not a choice," Taylor said. "That's coercion." "No," Sutherland said. "That's the legal system working exactly as designed. Your husband committed fraud. Multiple instances. On camera. With documentation. He has no defense except, 'I didn't know,' which isn't a defense when the information he needed to know was provided to him in writing." She looked directly at Jared. "You have 24 hours to decide. If you want to take the plea, your attorney will contact my office. If not, we'll see you in court." The screen went dark. Sutherland had disconnected. Silence filled the conference room. Then Jared stood up slowly, walked around the table, and stopped directly in front of me. "You did this," he said. "You planned all of it." "I gave you information," I said. "What you did with it was your choice. You knew I wouldn't read the fine print. You knew I'd trust you." "You're 33 years old," I said. "At some point, I didn't read it. Stops being an excuse. I'm your son. And I loved you enough to let you fail," I said. "Because that's the only way you were ever going to learn." "Learn what?" "That the world doesn't owe you anything. That your name isn't a free pass. That respect is earned, not inherited." Jared's hands balled into fists. For a second, I thought he might actually hit me. Robert and Patricia both stood, ready to intervene, but Jared just stood there, shaking, tears streaming down his face. "I hate you," he said. "I know," I said, "but you'll survive it." "Will I?" He laughed, bitter and broken. "Will I really? I've got no job, no business, no reputation. I'm about to plead guilty to fraud. My wife's influencer career is over. We'll probably lose the house. So tell me, Dad, what exactly am I supposed to survive into?" "Something real," I said. "Something you build with your own hands instead of stealing from other people's work." "Forget you." "Yeah," I said. "That's fair." Jared turned and walked out. Taylor followed, shooting me a look of pure hatred as she passed. Their attorney lingered. "Mr. Rowe, Daniel, off the record, what your son did was stupid and reckless. But what you did, I'm not sure if it's brilliant or cruel." "It's neither," I said. "It's just a father teaching his son a lesson that nobody else would teach him. Some lessons cost too much. And some cost exactly what they need to," I said. The attorney left. Robert, Patricia, and I sat alone in the conference room. "It's done," Robert said. "For real this time." "Yeah," I said. "It is." "How do you feel?" I thought about that, searched for regret, guilt, sorrow, found only a clean, clear sense of completion. "I feel like I've been carrying a weight for 33 years, I said, "and I finally put it down." Patricia closed her laptop. "You know this will define your relationship with your son for the rest of your lives." "I know," I said, "but at least it'll be honest." Robert walked me to the elevator. We stood there, two brothers in an empty hallway, decades of shared history between us. "You're a cold piece of work, you know that?" Robert said. "I learned from the best," I replied. He smiled. "Fair enough." The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. "Daniel," Robert said. I turned. "For what it's worth, you did right. Not easy, not comfortable, but right." "Thanks, Rob." The doors closed. I drove home in silence. No radio, no audiobooks, just the sound of the engine and my own thoughts. The sun was bright, the roads clear, the world continuing its indifferent rotation. Linda was waiting on the front porch when I pulled into the driveway. She didn't ask what happened, just looked at my face and nodded. "It's over," she said. "It's over," I confirmed. And Jared's taking the plea deal. Probably. His attorney seemed resigned to it. So he'll survive. "He'll survive," I agreed. Just not the way he expected to. We walked inside together. The house smelled like coffee and something baking. Linda's stress response was always aggressive domesticity. She poured me a cup, handed me a cookie still warm from the oven. "What now?" she asked. "Now nothing," I said. "We go back to our regular lives. I mow the lawn when it needs mowing. You do your volunteer work. We have dinner with Robert once a month. Normal stuff. And Jared?" "Jared figures out his own life," I said. "Without me." "You think you'll ever talk to him again?" "Maybe," I said. "In a few years, if he actually learns something from this. If he grows up. And if he doesn't?" "Then I had a son for 33 years, I said. "That's longer than some people get." Linda sat beside me at the kitchen table. We drank coffee, ate cookies. watched the afternoon light slant through the windows. "No regrets?" she asked eventually. "Not one," I said. And it was true. I'd spent 40 years in logistics, learning that the most important skill wasn't moving freight, it was knowing when to move it, how to move it, and what to do when the system broke down. You didn't fix a broken system by accommodating the breakage. You fixed it by removing the faulty component and rebuilding with something stronger. Jared had been a faulty component in the family system for years. We'd accommodated him, worked around him, protected him from his own failures. Not anymore. I'd removed the faulty component. The system would adjust, and maybe eventually Jared would learn to pull his own weight, or maybe he wouldn't. Either way, I was done carrying him. I stood up, walked to the garage. Linda followed. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Organizing," I said. "The lawnmower needs maintenance before spring, might as well get ahead of it." She laughed. "You just destroyed your son's life, and you're worried about lawnmower maintenance?" "The lawnmower's fixable," I said. "Jared's life is his problem." I pulled out my toolbox, started laying out wrenches and screwdrivers and replacement parts. Linda leaned against the doorframe, watching me work. "You're really okay," she said. It wasn't a question. "I'm better than okay," I said. "I'm free." And I was. For the first time in decades, I wasn't waiting for the next crisis, the next failure, the next moment when I'd have to clean up someone else's mess. I'd drawn the line. I'd held the boundary. And on the other side of that line was a life that was mine again. That night, I slept 12 hours straight. Didn't wake once, didn't dream, and when I woke Saturday morning, the sun was shining and my back didn't hurt, and my conscience was clear. Jared would survive, or he wouldn't. Robert would run his company without my constant worry about my son's incompetence. Taylor would rebuild her life or sink further into victimhood. None of it was my problem anymore. I'd crossed the line, and there was no going back, but I didn't want to go back. I wanted exactly this: the quiet house, the organized garage, the straightforward simplicity of a life where actions had consequences and boundaries meant something. I'd taught my son a lesson he'd needed for 33 years, and in doing so, I'd learned one myself. Sometimes love means protection, sometimes it means support, and sometimes it means stepping back and watching someone fall, not because you want them to fail, but because it's the only way they'll learn to stand on their own,